Hello, dear students. Today we are going to study the poem Keeping Quiet by Pablo Neruda. This poem teaches us the power of silence, reflection, and peace. It is a reminder that sometimes we need to pause and think we when or think before we act. Besides this, the poem enables students to manage stress, develop emotional calmness, and learn the value of thoughtful decision making. It also guides to behave responsibly and peacefully in society. Pablo Neruda, as you know, bagged Nobel Prize for Literature in the year 1971. And in this poem, he talks about the necessity of quiet introspection and creating a feeling of mutual understanding among human beings. Let's move on talking about the title Keeping Quiet. What does this speak and inform to us? Is it suitable? Is it apt? Let's assess it. The title Keeping Quiet clearly reflects the central theme of the poem. The poet urges the world to pause, remain silent, and reflect on life, human behavior, and the way we treat the nature. The poet here pleads that a moment of silence can reduce violence, bring peace, and promote understanding among people. Hence, we can say that the title itself captures the essence of the poem. Now, let's have a look at the theme of the poem. It is precise and in a nutshell. You see, silence and self reflection lead to peace, harmony, and understanding among humans and with nature. All these things can be understood well if we move on to have an explanation of each and every line, each and every stanza. You see, let me lead. Now we will count to 12 and we will all keep still. Do you know what this means? This means that the poet invites everyone to pause and remain silent. Counting to 12 symbolizes completeness and unity. Maybe of 12 months, 12 hours even, or as per the zodiac signs. This brief silence represents a break from hectic life, encouraging calmness and reflection. Here, what we have, what does the word 12 actually symbolizes? This symbolizes universality and completeness. Here we have the imperative tone. Actually, the poet commands gently, creating collective involvement of all the people. In the next stanza, what we have, for once on the face of the earth, let's not speak in any language. Let's stop for 1 second and not move our arms so much. See how beautifully he has proceeded in the next. Actually, the poet urges humans to stop speaking and acting. Language and actions often cause misunderstandings and violence. Silence and stillness can help human feel united beyond boundaries of race, nation, and culture. Let's assess the or have a look on the figure of speech, the literary devices we notice in this stanza: hyperbole and not to speak in any language. So, not speak in any language, emphasis, total silence. And the symbolism we have here is, you see, silence symbolizes peace and unity. It would be an exotic moment without rush, without engines. We would all be together in a sudden strangeness. Here, the poet describes the silence as exotic because it is rare in the modern machine driven world. The absence of noise and movement would feel strange but would unite humanity in shared awareness. Here we have metaphor and repetition. Exotic moment you have come across in the very first line of this stanza, which compares the silence to something rare and beautiful. The another one is without rush, without engines, that stresses the stillness. Now the another one, fisherman in the cold sea would not harm whales, and the man gathering salt would look at his hurt hands. Here the poet highlights human cruelty towards nature and self. In silence, fishermen would stop killing whales and laborers would reflect on their suffering. Stillness encourages compassion and awareness of exploitation. Poet actually appears to be very kind even to the people who never spares time for himself and hurt. Here we have cold sea, hurt hands as an imagery that creates the vivid visual image. And if you talk about symbolism, we have whales that symbolizes nature, and hurt hands symbolizes human suffering. Actually, the poet everywhere advocates to reduce injury, to reduce violence, not only to oneself or to the society or even nature, but for everyone, which is important. Those who prepare green wars, wars with gas, wars with fire, victory with no survivors would put on clean clothes and walk about with their brothers. So, so the poet here condemns war and violence. Actually, he imagines warmongers abandoning destruction and living peacefully like brothers. Silence leads to brotherhood and humanity. What will you do to have a victory with no survivors? Here we have some of the figure of a speech. What is essential to focus on? That is repetition in the form of words that highlights the brutality of violence. And victory with no survivor, this is what? This is an irony. That means the meaninglessness of war. War is never good. War is always chaotic and brings devastation, in which the innocent people lose their life. And the another one is the green wars, and green wars is the metaphor, refers to environmental destruction. Now, the next one is what I want should not be confused with a total inactivity. Life is what it is about. I want no truck with death. See, here the poet clarifies that he does not support complete inactivity or death. Life must continue, but with understanding. Silence is meant for reflection and not escape from responsibility. Truck with, that sounds repetition. Personification death is treated as something to associate with or reject, though death is being referred as personification and track with as an alliteration because it sounds repetition. See, if we were not so single minded about keeping our lives moving, perhaps moving, and for once could do nothing, perhaps a huge silence might interrupt this sadness of never understanding ourselves and of threatening ourselves with death. Here, the poet wants to say that humans are obsessed with constant activity and progress. The obsession prevents self understanding. A moment of stillness can help reduce sadness and confusion. Again, we have metaphor in the form of keeping our lips moving, which represents busy modern life. We do have oxymoron as a figure of speech in the form of huge silence that combines contrasting ideas. See, perhaps the earth can teach us as when everything seems dead and later proves to be alive. See, the poet, it's all about the teaching of nature. The poet compares the silence to nature just as earth appears lifeless in winter but blooms again. You might have seen that the seeds are actually embedded in the ground for a longer period of time. Sometimes we concede that the seed is dead. But what do we see? It blooms. It blooms again. That means silence leads to renewal and hope. The poem ends with optimism and wisdom. Here we have the figure of speech in the form of personification, simile, and symbolism. The earth can teach us. This is what? Personification. Because earth is being projected as a teacher. Life compared to seasonal renewal, you see. And symbolism, earth symbolizes regeneration and continuity. Apart from this, we will also talk about some of the questions. The questions are what will counting up to 12 and keeping still us achieve? The question in this section, think it out, will be answered in the next video or when you comment or require the answer in order to check yourself. Do comment Now, I concludes this. Thank you very much for listening and giving your time.